All right. Well, can I tell you that while we've been talking about John Minto, the world's been talking about Trump and other issues, Chris Luxon has just been talking about the economy because it's the only thing he really feels comfortable talking about. So it's all about the economy, getting the economy right, saying yes to more things. And indications are that he's going to say, or he might say, yes to asset sales. And columnists who haven't got anything true to say, the National's going to campaign on asset sales at the next election. What's going on with this? I don't know. I don't see people marching in the street for asset sales or too worried about it. But then again, it is true that I guess our economic recession and hardship is worse than most of us thought. And 2025 doesn't look like it's going to be the return to wonderful economic growth and the easy ride that maybe the optimists amongst us were hoping for. So what is it with the asset sales? Do they work? Are they an economic solution to our current woes? And have we got anything left to sell? When I get into this territory, the group of people I generally give a ring to and want to have a talk about it are the guys from the New Zealand Initiative. They've all got big brains, much more experience than me, and lots of letters after their names. One of them, of course, is Eric Crampton, and he joins us on the line now. Eric, Happy New Year. Good to talk to you.
And to you.
All right. Where did this asset sales thing come from? Is it just a kind of narrative that the National Party and Luxon have come up with, or is there already rumblings about more asset sales?
Well, the Crown has a large balance sheet that is not working very well. The government is not necessarily the best owner for a lot of the things that it owns. If government wants to pick up more assets in some areas because it thinks that it's a good idea, using the proceeds from selling other things that the government is perhaps not best suited to be owning is one way of generating the revenue for it. And particularly when government is spending an awful lot of money on other things and doesn't have a lot of free cash available. We've been running large structural deficits. I wouldn't be seeing asset sales as a way of bridging the deficit. That'd be kind of having things backwards.
It's like selling the family silver to pay for the groceries, I think was the old adage.
You could put it that way, but once the proceeds of the sale are gone, if it has not resulted in a productivity boost and then tax receipts from the now privatized asset, you still have the structural deficit to deal with, right? Like it would still be there. So you shouldn't be thinking about it that way. If you think about it a bit more comprehensively, really we should be starting by thinking about what sorts of things the government should be up to in the first place. For each of those things, whether that is best done by the state owning something and providing the service, or contracting with someone to provide the service, whatever it is, and then work from there to what are the things that the government should be owning.
Okay, Eric, what at the moment could we sell that would meet your criteria?
Right, Oh, okay. Well, I could do some off-the-cuff stuff, but note that the Crown's total assets are about $571 billion. Wow. Okay, so that's about $275,000 per household. Now, net assets are less than that because the Crown has an awful lot of debt. But the total assets are large, so that means that there are a lot of potential gains if they are not being run well under Crown ownership, and somebody else would be better placed to own them because you increase the value of it if the ownership goes to higher valued use. Okay. So if we look back to prior privatizations, telecom privatization went really well. There are others like that. Currently, you got to wonder why the government owns a bunch of farms through Landcorp. I'm not sure that makes an awful lot of sense. Kiwi Rail has not been a particularly good performer. You would wonder, on this one, you'd have to think back to, well, what is the government actually trying to achieve through this? Does it want to subsidize a broad rail network across places that aren't particularly economic to service? If that's the objective, well, is that better handled by subsidizing someone to maintain tracks that are unaffordable?
We've been down that road before, though, and private enterprise screwed it.
Well, it depends how you think about that, too, right? So the government needs to be able to set contracts well for the things that it actually wants to have serviced. And it also has to be able to be credible that it's not going to just bail the thing out afterwards. So if the government actually wanted lots of maintenance on tracks that are decidedly uneconomic to maintain on any commercial basis, then it should be setting contracts on that basis rather than just being horrified that a private owner isn't putting money into
now,
a money pit.
Could I ask you, Land Court was the other example you've given us so far. Is that making money at the moment?
Not really enough relative to what the assets under management. Other bits that you could look at, the Superannuation Fund, it has generated great returns. It's unclear that the government really needs to be owning a giant fund of that sort, though, right? You could bring down debt a lot by not having that, or it could be a basis
you'd have some private outfit running the super fund?
I don't know that the government needs to have a super fund full stop.
Well, that's not an asset sale. That's a structural fundamental policy change, Eric.
The government is taking on a lot of debt while also having a big asset that's aimed at future retirement savings, the retirement costs.
Yeah.
If you think that that's the best way for the government to avoid blowing a pile of money, like if your basic model of government is that if you privatized or if you sold off the Superannuation Fund, then the government would be using the free cash to blow on a whole pile of dumb stuff, and we'd be stuck in a really big problem in the 20s, 30s,
so
and 40s.
So we've got Land Court, Kiwi Rail, Super Fund. What else could we sell?
Well, we can go through the whole list.
TVNZ, but that boat sailed and it's not making any money. Who would buy that?
Well, really, we should be starting by thinking about what things should the government be doing and starting the discussion at that level and then working from there about, okay, how should we be providing the services that we think the Crown should be providing?
Yeah.
So, for example, in health, there seems to be a strong consensus that the government should be providing a lot of health services. Now, are those best provided by having the state own and operate a lot of hospitals, or are those best provided by having the state provide comprehensive insurance or a base insurance package for everyone?
Model for the service
and
providers.
Then a competitive,
yeah.
Like that's how you should be thinking about it, rather than should the government privatize the hospitals? Everybody gets all worked up about that. The starting point should be, how should we best deliver high quality healthcare services given the government's capabilities in contracting? So thinking about it from that level.
So
I
what
can't
we're
give
really talking about,
answer.
Eric, and my bad for maybe misrepresenting that, we're not talking so much about asset sales as privatisation.